in the audience. I'm very honored that we can take a moment to recognize Dr. Holly Cheever, who is a beloved veterinarian, mother, community member, tireless advocate for animal welfare. Our colleague Vicki Plotsky has initiated this proclamation. Vicki, it'd be great if you could come on up. Dr. Cheever broke many barriers as one of just a few female large animal veterinarians in the Capital District in the early 1980s. She co-founded the Village Animal Clinic in Voorheesville and became a trusted figure in the Capital Region for her care of both animals and their people. Tonight, I am so happy that we can recognize her enormous contributions to animal welfare, public education, and community health. And just on a personal note, Dr. Cheever, it sounds like just a wonderful, wonderful human being. And as a dog owner, and I just spoke to one of our colleagues who's going through something with her pet, I know how valued we all and the incredible warmth and respect that we have for our veterinarians who care for our pets so carefully with love and with knowledge. And I know how much I personally, I didn't know Dr. Cheever, but I know how wonderful her care must have been to receive this recognition. And I'm sure there's lots of fur parents out in the audience who also would echo that sentiment. So we're very happy to recognize Dr. Cheever, and thank you so much for the honor of doing so. Here you go.
Cheever, beloved veterinarian, mother, community member, and tireless advocate for animal welfare. Dr. Cheever was summa cum laude graduate of Harvard University, graduated first in her class from Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine, paving the way for a veterinary career defined by compassion and fearless advocacy. She broke barriers as one of the few female large animal veterinarians in the early 1980s, co-founded the Village Animal Clinic in Voorheesville, and became a trusted figure in the Capital Region for her care of both animals and their people. She was a pioneer in veterinary ethics, refusing to perform cosmetic procedures such as tail docking or declawing, and offered pro bono care for wildlife and low-cost spay-neuter services for rescued animals. She served as a veterinary columnist for Good Housekeeping, taught courses on veterinary forensics, instructed the New York State Police on animal cruelty laws, and testified in local, state, and federal hearings on behalf of animal welfare. Her advocacy led to national recognition as Veterinarian of the Year by the New York State Humane Association and earned her honors from the ASPCA, the Humane Society of the United States, and the New York State Troopers, among others. Her profound empathy and moral conviction extended to her home and family, where she raised 4 children with her husband, Dean Summer, in the town of New Scotland, building a sanctuary for abused and neglected animals, and earning the distinction of being named the 2021 Capital Region Mother of the Year in recognition of her devotion to both her family and community. Dr. Cheever's legacy lives on through her decades of advocacy, policies she helped shape, veterinary students she mentored, and generations of animals and families she cared for now. And therefore, be it resolved, the Albany County Legislature, on behalf of the citizens of Albany County, does hereby honor and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Holly Cheever, recognizing her immeasurable contributions to animal welfare, public education, and community health, and expressing profound gratitude for her lifelong commitment to justice, compassion, and the protection of all sentient life. Not many of us, well, I hope many of us can, but not many of us can have articles written about us that say we literally changed the world, and that's what Dr. Cheever did. She was an outspoken defender of animal rights. The New York State Humane Association declared her to be one of the fiercest animal protection advocates in history. She testified before Congress about animal abuse in circuses in New York, about the carriage horse industry, and against the brutality of the foie gras industry. She fought to rescue elephants from circuses and orcas from SeaWorld. Her veterinary practice reflected her ethics, and her mission in life was to end the abuse and disregard of animals. Her most fervent and desperate hope for humanity was that it ends its cultivation and consumption of sentient life, as Holly viewed all sentient life forms as being her equals and in need of guardianship. What really struck me in reading her obituary and the articles about her was how it ended with, in lieu of flowers, don't eat meat. In lieu of not eating meat, always be kind to animals. So with our deepest condolences, please accept this in honor of Dr. Holly Cheever.
Only because, to the extent that the great unknown affords my mother an occasion to look down on me, she would not permit me to waste the opportunity to advance her advocacy among a group of people who have been elected to represent our community. And so I'm going to pass a message along from my mother in the hope that at some point it percolates. I'm by no means an adherent all the time, but I do my best. The thing that I would emphasize is the comments made about my mother are well taken. She truly did in a way that I never was really able to emulate, but some of my sisters, to their immense credit, have been able to. She perceived all animals as genuine existential equals. And watching it, even as a child, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. But it became a matter of, she didn't eat animals, we didn't eat animals. Not because that was some kind of vague, amorphous, abstract moral underpinning, but because she genuinely acknowledged all animals to be her existential equal. So, it can sound like some self-righteous pandering when people would ask that you consider the degree of suffering that we inflict on our fellow earthlings when we eat them, but I would just say that to the extent that anyone has a moral position, keep in mind that the manner by which we treat those that cannot defend themselves from us ultimately is the litmus test from which any other moral platform should proceed. My sisters and I never burdened ourselves with trying to replicate my mom's achievements in intellect. She spoke 4 languages, she could play any instrument, she was an incredible artist, she had a brain that demonstrated an incredible degree of talent. But with that brain, the thing that I'm perhaps proud of, above all else, is that we have an aquarium in Albany County. We don't have a zoo. There are not elephants in the circus. That carriage horses at some point will be banned from the streets of New York City. Those are all causes that proceeded from my mother's unrelenting advocacy, as buttressed by my father's law degree, which was always helpful when she dealt with the defamation lawsuits from those that would bring them against her, because she was unapologetically always looking out for the abused of the furried and feathered variety. So this means an incredible amount to my 3 sisters who couldn't be here today, and to me and to my father. Thank you so much for your support of the Altamont Enterprise, where that obituary was published. To the extent that you would like to read about my mother, just as a human being, it's worth the 5 minutes, to the extent that Google will lead you to the obituary. She was an incredible woman, and it would take every single person in here together to lift that torch up and carry it to the finish line. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. That was lovely. Okay, before we get started, my name's Joanne Cunningham. Welcome to the Albany County Legislative meeting of July 14th. Before we get started, which we will start right at 6:30. I would like to especially and particularly welcome our summer interns, many of whom are in the back of the room tonight. So you see a whole collection of young people sitting in the back, and we appreciate very much that you're here with us and are delighted that we have you at this meeting. As folks in the chamber know, our summer youth employment program provides internship opportunities for 17 to 21-year-olds, Albany County High School, as well as undergraduate college students. And our goals are to create on-the-job training opportunities for students to give them real-world experience, practice professional skills. This summer, we have interns working with us in the legislature and throughout Albany County departments, including the DA's office, the Sheriff's Department, Children's, Youth and Family Services, Information Technology, Parks and Rec, and on and on. And so we're delighted to have you with us. We appreciate that you're participating in the program. And one thing that we have emphasized is we hope that you love working for the county so much that you come back when you're finished with high school or college and look for some of the jobs that we have available and come back and join our workforce. So we appreciate you being here. Okay, first and foremost, before we get started, this building does not have AC, as you are noting. I would invite folks to make themselves comfortable, as I just did by taking my jacket off. I am sure our rules of decorum would be fine with all of us being comfortable without our jackets on, if that is something that would make you a little bit more comfortable in this room. Okay. The rules of the Albany County Legislature allow for a period of public comment before our monthly meetings. Our rules prohibit members of the public from questioning legislators and prohibit us from questioning you. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. And in accordance with our rules of order, speakers will be allowed 3 minutes each. I ask everyone to please silence their cell phones. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alex. Beston. Bergdorf. Cleary. Collins. Camiso. Conway. Cunningham.
Here.
Demolowitz. Drake. Efakoro. Ethier. Feeney. Fine. Gillespie. Grimm. Andrew Joyce. Ray Joyce. Kuhn. Lane. Larilliard. Lakakis. Lockhart. Mariello. Mayo. McLaughlin. Miller. Petto. Purley. Pulaski. Reedy. Reinhardt. Ricard. Robinson. Rosano. Simpson. Smith. Whalen. Willingham. 29 present.
Thank you. Clerk, please read the name of the first speaker.
Carol Waterman.
I'm sure all of you have been following the great big beautiful bill, and therefore I'm assuming that everybody here knows about the horrible Medicaid cuts, which are actually murder of millions of people, and I call it premeditated murder. But the Medicaid cuts are not the worst part of that bill. The worst part is that ICE is going to be getting 10 times the amount of money that they have now. Just to picture that, it will be the largest federal agency, okay, in the United States. Now, this Gestapo is going to be getting enough money to be in, I'm quoting now, every community, okay? Now, with 1/10 of that money currently, ICE has already, they've been in parks, courthouses, churches, schools, doctor's office recently, and of course businesses. And so my question is, are we safe here? Personally, I don't think so. Now, of all this money, $45 billion are going to be spent on, quote, detention camps, which are really, of course, concentration camps. And they want to have these all over the country, starting with, of course, Alligator Alcatraz. Now, nobody ever should be put in that hellhole, okay? But we're supposed to be reassured. Oh, I should have mentioned, you can get, this is how sick our society's become, you can get Alligator Alcatraz t-shirts, it's a big business now, okay, and hats to go with it.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So we're told that only criminals will be put there. Not that that's okay to put criminals there, but we already know that most of the people called criminals are not, except it turns out that crossing the border into America, when you're not supposed to, when you're undocumented, that is considered a crime now.
Time.
Okay, then I just want to end with, when you do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, I can't pledge allegiance to what my country has become, okay? So tonight, I'm going to sit it out. Thank you.
Barbara Rio.
Good evening. I'm here again to talk with you about my disappointment. Well, maybe that's actually not the best word. Maybe frustration or anger might be a better word. I'm so frustrated and angry that we're back here tonight because of the inaction of this legislature. Your website states on it, we want to hear from you about your concerns, ideas, and questions as we diligently work to advance sound policy and positive change throughout Albany County. Well, back in February, we wrote to you in good faith that you would fulfill your stated mission to hear our concerns and to work diligently to advance policy, specifically a civilian oversight review board in response to reports of all the abuses at the Albany County Jail. But not only did you not work to advance policy, we haven't heard back at all since February. So we then, also in good faith in February and March, called a number of you, expecting to be heard, and I was told that you were meeting about it, that we would be hearing back soon. But that didn't happen either. We did not get a response to our letter. So we came, maybe in a little less good faith, to express our concerns in person in April. And when we still heard nothing, we came again in May. We also sent a proposal for the review board in April. So finally, we got some unofficial word that you were working on it and needed time, that creating legislation took time, and that we would be hearing from you in a couple of weeks. So we took your word for it, again in good faith, and so did not come back last month to the June meeting. But that 2 weeks is now 6 weeks, and we still have not heard anything. In addition to the letter that we sent to the legislature, since our coalition consists of groups that advocate for the black community in Albany County. We sent a letter to the Legislative Black Caucus. As you know, the caucus, when it was formed in 2018, it's the resolution number 125 pointed out that underrepresented, quote unquote, and protected groups have increased their participation in Albany County government. That sounds a lot to me like the groups in our coalition. And then the resolution goes on to say, a legislative caucus has evolved to give voice to those individuals and groups of protected classes. We believe that that meant us, and that the Black Caucus was our avenue to have our voice heard. So we sent a letter and the proposal to the Black Caucus as well. That letter was sent in February also, and we have gone now 5 months with no letter back from them either. Yet Dr. McLaughlin, the chair of the Black Caucus, claimed a month later, in March, at the celebration
30 seconds.
marking the 7th anniversary of the caucus, quote, tomorrow we're going to wake up and make sure that we honor that progress by continuing to push forward on behalf of all of the people we represent, especially people of color and African Americans in particular. And then on May 18th, as she chaired a roundtable on public safety, Dr. McLaughlin claimed again, quote, we want to create an environment where people can be heard, but also get direct answers about their concerns. So I ask you then, why has our coalition of groups that are predominantly people of color have not only not gotten any direct answers, but not even received a
Time.
response to a letter that we sent in February? We've written letters, we've sent a proposal, we've spoken in person and over the phone. What else do we need to do? What are you doing if this is not your job? Isn't that what is said in your mission? Thank you.
Nyasia Curry. Nyasia. Richard Harris.
Thank you. Chairwoman Cunningham, legislators, I'm here to speak a little bit about what's going on in our, people say prisons, right, in the past, but we're talking about our correctional facilities. And I'll be brief. But let me just start off by just giving us a little history. Our founding fathers, they started out saying that we want to make a more perfect union. And the more perfect union is really needed in, we know, 3 important areas in America, if we exclude voting. We're talking about our criminal justice system, our policing, and our incarceration. Say a little bit about myself, though. I guess it's appropriate for me to introduce myself. I'm Richard Harris. I'm the president of the 100 Black Men. And I've spoken to this group before the legislature many years ago. And I think I commend them for having these type of forums. But what happens after the forum is more important. I want to see us have oversight in our correctional facilities. And it's important for all of us. You know, most of the time we talk about oversight so that the people who are incarcerated, they could be looked after and no harm will come to them. So they talk about inmates, right? Inmate protection and what happens to them. But what happens, I think that many people forget that there is no reason why we should not have oversight, external oversight. And there's no group that could come up and say there's a reason why. Certainly correctional officers can't, because they want oversight for their protection and their support. If they say something happened, they have proof, right? And the legislature, this legislature here, this body, I mean, we certainly don't want to see the lawsuits that have come out of abuse cases.
30 seconds.
So I think we have support in this body. So, but let's talk about, let's go a little further. Of course, the loved ones of people that are incarcerated, and certainly some of the people that are incarcerated should be incarcerated. And there are some people who are awaiting trial and all that, but we're not going to be judge and jury, right? But we do want to make sure that everybody that's incarcerated is not abused. That's something that we all should want. So now, what happens then with the people that have been abused in our correctional system? Well,
Time.
they certainly don't come out better people. I mean, if you've been incarcerated, and I'm part of a coalition that's been fighting for the protection of inmates, and we've got cases of we cited a number of cases of people being abused. Right. But it's not only those people when they're abused while they're
Time.
incarcerated. What happens when they leave? What kind of people are we releasing out in the general public? People that have been abused. Okay?
Thank
and they
you.
certainly don't come out happy. And sometimes people that have been abused abuse. So I say this to say that what we're looking for is external oversight. We're talking about citizens.
Thank
Review
you.
Board. A citizens oversight review board. That's what we're looking for, and that's something that will serve everybody. It's in everybody's interest. What happens is when you look at
Thank you, sir.
Time is up.
Okay, can I just go to the sentence? When people are incarcerated, just want to say one thing, is that abuse, mistreatment, and harm, they can occur without anybody seeing it. And I was at a hearing the other day, and I'll close with this. The person, one of the
Thank you
civilians-
very much, sir. You've gone over a couple of minutes,
Okay.
but thank you so much.
Thank you. The person said, asked the committee.
Thank you.
Can I just make one sentence?
No, you're kind of
Oh,
over
yes.
like
You're
2
way
minutes,
over.
so we've given you a lot
All
of
right.
time. But thank you very much.
All right,
We
thank you.
appreciate it.
Lynn Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Jackson, and I live in Albany's South End. I have two neighbors who have no income, one because of disability, not that he can get disability, but he's physically unable to work, and one because she lost her job. Both of my neighbors owe rent. So they both separately, I don't even know if they know each other, separately went to the Department of Social Services, and both of them were told by the Albany County Department of Social Services that the social services would not help them with the rent because they had no income. And so these two neighbors are facing the issue of not being able to pay the rent, either through disability or loss of a job. And my question to you is, I don't understand. I thought the Department of Social Services was there to help people, because sometimes people fall on very hard times, especially these days. And I don't understand, like, we have a serious homelessness problem in Albany County. Well, maybe part of the problem is this. I mean, does the Department of Social Services believe that these two people need to become homeless before they're helped? Like, how are people supposed to survive if we have no social safety net? So my hope is that the county legislature will look into this issue and find out why people who need help are not getting help through Department of Social Services. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Ellis. I live on North Pine Ave in the city of Albany, and I wanted to talk to you tonight about the issue of checks and balances. You heard a couple of people speak earlier about the need to have a civilian oversight board of the Albany County Jail. I agree with them. They have quite a large coalition. It's the Freedom Unchecked Coalition, NAACP Albany, Capital District Urban League, the Center for Law and Justice, A Village, Bridge the Gap, True Heart Incorporated, Jails Justice Network, 100 Black Men, and the New York State Council of Churches. I believe that such an oversight board is needed. I think that this county will do it eventually. There's plenty of oversight boards around the United States that perform exactly this type of function, so you wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel here. You could find a template easily, probably, that could be modified a little bit to fit us. I think it's important to remember that not only is this good for the county government to establish such a thing, but it's good for the 300,000 people who live in this county. Because you are elected officials, you represent us. You don't just represent yourself, and I'm sure you know that. But it's important that all of us in this county, that we have a system where if there is wrongdoing going on in the jail, and there certainly is in jails and prisons in the United States, it's not an easy place to work. And I think this county would be better off having such a system in place. The other thing I wanted to mention briefly is the last 3 meetings I asked you to pass a resolution calling upon the President of the United States to adhere to the rule of law and the separation of powers and checks and balances built into our federal Constitution. I still think it's needed, probably even more than it ever has been before. The Trump administration is weaponizing ICE. They violently detained the New York City comptroller. They detained a U.S. senator from California. They detained the mayor of Newark. President Trump has threatened to arrest the man who won the Democratic primary in New York City for mayor. Many people believe that the Trump administration is weaponizing immigration.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Enforcement to crack down on our First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendment rights. I think we need to be extremely vigilant during these next 3.5 years to block any effort to transform the United States as Germany was transformed in 1933. We need to remind Mr. Trump and Vance that they must obey the U.S. Constitution and civilized norms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the summer.
There are no more speakers.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who wishes to speak? Come on up.
What's the name? I didn't see that one, but that's okay. Got it. Okay.
My voice projects anyway. Good evening. I'm here again. Would rather be doing something else than here again to address all of you. It has come to my attention that since we started addressing the issues at Albany County Correctional Facility, I personally have taken a hit for this. Apparently some members of the Albany County staff would prefer not to speak with me. I know the sheriff has shut it down when he won't speak with us, simply because I'm saying the men and the women in the county jail do not deserve to be beaten. That's all I'm saying. No one deserves to have their eye socket knocked out or have concussions or have multiple surgeries to their face and so forth and so on. The number of calls that we continue to get up into Friday was, no, actually this morning. So The problem is still going on. There's no one to account for what they do. Superintendent Lyons and Sheriff Apple are just running helter-skelter, a jail that has no accountability. People are getting brutalized in that facility. And yes, for me, this is personal. And because I am formerly incarcerated, and I know what they do there, I know how they lie. I know how they cover up what they're doing. So until there's real oversight in that facility, it's going to continue. And it is not fair. And it's not just the brutality. They are putting those men on a unit that is filled with black mold, maggots, things leaking from the ceiling. I wonder what the comptroller is doing with that audit. When they look at the finances, that says it goes to the upkeep and the maintenance of that building. What does that look like? When you say you're auditing a place 2024, 2023, 2022, but you still have mold and issues with no running water, a building collapsing, bricks falling off the building, where's the money going? Why are these officers still allowed to beat the men and women at that jail with no accountability? Why is this body not answering anyone? Why is it
30
that we're
seconds.
getting messages that say, well, give us time, and we give you that grace period? We didn't show up here last month because you asked for a grace period. The lady who did come last month, we didn't know her. I'm glad she came. But we didn't come because you asked for a grace period. We gave you that. What now? What now? That jail needs a civilian oversight review board. It cannot be
Time.
allowed any longer to police itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to talk to this body about the recent crimes and violence that our county have been currently experiencing. I'm here to talk to you guys today on June 12th. My 14-year-old daughter was repeatedly stabbed in Waterville as she got off the CDTA bus by another set of girls that had came over to confront her about some things. I'm coming to this body to you today because I read where you guys put out a $20,000 anti-bullying for organizations. And for me, it was almost like a slap in my face, a parent who have, it's currently a month, and my daughter has not yet been connected to any resources that the county currently have acknowledged that you guys have available for victims of violent crimes. Most of the violence that we see, people normally talk about gun violence. I know snug, the body has to hit, the bullet has to hit the body. I want you guys to understand that there are a lot more crimes that are happening and violence that is happening within the city and the county that's not just gunshot victims. We have people who are being strangled. We have the LGBTQ community who's being hate crimes being acted on them. And there's right now a lot of stabbing that's happening around the city and the county. So I wanted to come to you guys just to express a lot of concerns that I have and to let you guys know that you can't just sit here in these seats and make decisions based off of what you guys think the community needs. $20,000 can do a lot to families who are victims instead of taking that money and putting it back into these same organizations that are day-to-day telling us that there are no resources available, that there's no way that they can help us and our families be connected. You guys should look further into making sure that those funds are making it into the hands of the families who are victims in these situations. I'm now currently dealing with a young lady on 4th of July. her daughter, and a few friends. So 7 individuals were shot. Within those 7 individuals that were shot,
30
this young
seconds.
lady is still saying that she has been told that there is no funding that can help her. The most that she can get is a hotel room for a week, and I'm fighting with Snug to keep her in that hotel so she does not have to return back to the home that she was victimized in. So again, I hope that you guys hear what I'm saying to you. I hope that you reach out and, we talk about how the city and the county, you guys have to get it right. And in order for you to do that, you have to work together to make sure that we're meeting all the needs of our communities, not just what we think the needs are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike McGlynn. I'm from Ward of Elite. I gotta sign this. Thank you for your efforts last month to enact state legislation to prevent continued spreading of PFAS biosolids on agricultural lands that pollute our natural resources and food supply. The obstructionists corrupting the science-based environmental impact statement processes increase violations of our constitutional environmental health and human rights. As you know, the Independent System Operators 2025 Grid and Market Report mentions consumers face greater risks of outages if the resources needed for reliability are forced out of service. The continued operation of fossil fuel-powered energy production technologies influences production of greenhouse gas emissions and global warming. Even though the priority climate action plan for the capital region identifies various energy-efficient processes for residential and commercial buildings, the capital region's Clean Energy Hub assessment and barriers analysis indicates the poor housing conditions adversely influences renovation of existing housing stock for our neighbors, especially those in designated disadvantaged census tracts. I think access to NYSERDA and New York Power Authority programs in partnership with nonprofit organizations and faith-based congregations will obtain funds to enhance public-private investment programs for the purchase and installation of Energy Star HVAC systems and energy storage units at community cooling centers and affordable multifamily housing units. As Pope Francis wrote in Laudato Si, let's our be a time remembered for the awakening of a new reverence for life, the firm resolve to achieve sustainability, the quickening of the struggle for justice and peace, and the joyful celebration of life. The State Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan identifies global warming as a
30
reason
seconds.
for the 2025 Extreme Heat Annex. However, obstructionists have directed state assistance as a supplement to local actions and will typically be made after local resources are exhausted. Will you consider cooperating with climate-smart communities to improve energy-efficient operations of community cooling centers in disadvantaged neighborhoods, at American Red Cross multifamily shelters, and at EMS buildings using the New York Battery Energy Storage System Guideline?
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the chamber who wishes to speak? Come on up.
Do you have to sign in here?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Fees. I'm an environmental field geologist who works in Albany County and the surrounding state. The reason I'm here is not strictly to do with my job. It's because I'm very upset and worried about the brutal conditions I'm hearing about at the Albany County Correctional Facility. I would like to officially request the formation of a civilian oversight review board to evaluate the treatment of the men and women inside Albany County Correctional Facility at the hands of correctional staff. And I'd also like to, and I apologize, I'm not the best with speeches or words. In my job, oversight is part of it. We don't get to screw up or do something that could kill people when it comes to health, the environment, things like that, without getting in serious trouble. That's why we have the EPA, that's why we have the DEC. I work in the private sector, they oversee us for a reason. You need that same kind of oversight in anything that involves human lives and human health, and that includes correctional facilities. And I don't just want, platitudes about this. You guys have more power than I do to change this. So I would ask you to support and put forth legislation that actually establishes a civilian oversight board, because it isn't just something that people want, it is something that you need. Because if their rights are not being respected, if anybody who is incarcerated does not have their rights respected, if we allow ourselves to not respect their rights, then it's a slippery slope for other people's rights to be trampled on as well. But we should care about the rights of the incarcerated. They are people's family members, they are friends, they're not just monsters behind bars, these are people with different crimes, different backstories. Some of them shouldn't even be there in the first place. I think that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber who wishes to speak?
I called, but I don't know if I got on the docket. What was the name? Marina Franchild.
He was just signing.
Sure. Over here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hi, everybody. I've been here before, and you've heard a lot of people talk about the need for a civilian oversight review board. I'm not going to talk about that. I wholeheartedly believe there is a need. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about what is supposed to happen when somebody is incarcerated. What's supposed to happen is they're supposed to come out not only having paid their debt to society, regardless of what we think about that, that's the reason that they're locked up in the first place, but hopefully they're going to come out to be contributing members of society. I worked for Hudson Link for Higher Education in prison for 10 years, and I've seen what happens to people when they have hope. I've seen what happens to people when they have an opportunity to get an associate's degree. I've seen what happens to people when they can master. I was a math teacher or tutor. I can see what happens when people acquire skills. The spillover effect is unbelievable. The spillover effect when people learn English really well and start writing about their feelings is unbelievable. So prison should be a vehicle for people to pay their debt to society, but it should not be an opportunity for people that like to beat up other people, people who get off on violence, people who are in positions of power to brutalize human beings. So you've heard all of this before, but I'll tell you where I'm coming from. This is my second point. We have heard from the legislature to be patient and you would work with us. When I was in engineering, if you build a gas turbine, it seems like it's really going great, except as you go down the line, you have choke. Because there's one parameter that is sensitive to 1,000th of a unit. and you have to start over. So I respect, I assume getting legislation passed is the same kind of a thing. You have gates that you have to get through. You have people that you have to deal with. You have laws that may encumber you or that may actually help you. So I understand that it's not easy. Where I am upset is that there's been no transparency. So by August 1st, I would like the people that have written to you from Freedom Unshackled to be gotten back to, and I would like you to please spell out, like in a work order, what the steps are, what you have to do to get a civilian oversight review board accomplished. And if you get stuck, that's okay if we know that you're legitimately
30
stuck.
seconds.
Thank you. And you're making progress. But to be in a black box and we don't know what's going on, there's no transparency, there's no direct communication, I'm assuming that everyone intends to help us. I'm assuming that everybody wants the same thing that we do. But without you communicating with us, it's questionable. We start to wonder if you're really on the side of justice or not. So the optics are not good, and we are getting anxious. So please, I'm requesting, this is the ask, that you get back to us by August 1st, that's in a couple of weeks, and we want an outline of what you're doing and all the steps to get to completion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the chamber who wishes to speak?
Hi there. It's Patricia Sibilia, League of Women Voters. You heard the names of the different people in that coalition. There are peers of our groups that we respect to the ultimate. But you didn't hear the name of the League of Women Voters of Albany County in that coalition. And that's really because we believe there are multiple sides to every story, and we don't make a real stance until we explore all those. However, it's been extremely difficult to do that. And a lot of that is that I know you all have good hearts and want to do the right thing, but silence equals a sense of there being a problem. So I really ask that, and I spoke to this last month, I really ask that there be more communication. The League truly believes in transparency in government and there being a dialogue between representatives and the community. And I haven't seen it, and if it's out there and I haven't been exposed, I'd like to be exposed to that because the League is hotly interested in this topic. So I appreciate all the speakers. The last speaker said it perfectly, and I just wanted to add our voice to that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the chamber who wishes to speak? The public forum is now closed. Before we... Oh, I'm sorry. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Lo Baboulis, and I live in downtown Albany, in the Mansion neighborhood. On December 28th, 2022, my partner, Alexander Stokes Contompassis, was granted political prisoner / prisoner of war status in the state of New York and was put into a Max 01 facility, basically for self-defense, but that's a story for another day. So for the last 2.5 years, I have visited him every other weekend because I want to see him, obviously. He's my partner, but also because I want to be able to hold his hand. I want to make sure he doesn't have any bruises on his face or any marks on his body as well. And of course, I love taking the Polaroid with him at the end because for 30 seconds, we get to hold each other. So that's pretty cool. So I understand fully the importance of transparent, fair, and unbiased oversight committees because I live it every day, and I've lived it for the past 3 years almost. I know there are so many other people who have lived that for longer who are not able to make it here today, whose voices have not been heard. But I think it's time to change that, and I know that all of you have the power to change that. That's why you're here. You can create an oversight committee like that if you want to. And we're begging you to. We would love for that to happen. And I want to clarify that Freedom Unshackled in the past, when interacting with Sheriff Apple, they never asked him to let people out of jail, and they never asked for anyone's release. They just asked that they not be beaten. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber who wishes to speak? Okay, the public forum is now closed. Before we call tonight's meeting to order, we will have a post-public forum law committee meeting that will take place in the back corner room.